Hello, this is Dr. Reed Tuckson, and welcome to another edition of our spirituality and health podcast that we call Decide. Decide, Decide. And what this is all about is how do we make the choices that we need to make to fulfill our highest sense of ourselves? We have in previous shows talked about D for diet, we've talked about E for exercise. Today, I'm really excited because we're going to talk about community engagement, how we interact with the people and places around us. Eventually, as we go further along our journey, we'll talk about inner development. We're going to talk about dreams, and we're going to talk about emotional development. So those are the things that are ahead on our particular journey. But the premise of this show continues to be that we can make choices. All life begins with a choice. We may fail many times. Sometimes we experience ups and we experience downs. Sometimes we're lazy. Sometimes we're fearful. Sometimes we're overwhelmed. Sometimes we're busy. But if we choose every day to act sincerely with a real sense of purpose, a sense of our own personal mission. If we make that choice every day, our lives will be so much better, so much more gratifying. So if you don't make the decision to do right every day, don't be discouraged. Stay on the road to achieving your highest sense of yourself. The choice to care is really more than just about ourselves. So, as we talk about this community engagement idea, we want to emphasize that the reason that we try to reach our highest sense of ourselves is so that we are the best person to be able to help others. This is not just a selfish pursuit as we go along our spiritual journey. It's a journey that has a purpose, allowing ourselves to be our fullest expression of our own individual humanity, our own individual spiritual genius. But we want to translate that into how we can help all sentient beings become the best and the happiest and the most relief of suffering that we can possibly have. So I'm so excited. There's a great quote that I have always enjoyed by a man named Robert Greenleaf. And I think it really sums up the whole premise of our show today. And what he says is that caring for persons, the more able and the less able, serving each other is the rock upon which a great society is built. Isn't that beautiful? Caring for persons, the more able and the less able, serving each other is the rock upon which a great society is built. And I think that really kind of gets in my heart the sense that I am lucky enough to have certain competencies as a physician. I have certain abilities. And when I give those to those who are in need, I find quite miraculously that whatever I'm giving, I get more back from those who I'm serving. They teach me so many more things than I can ever teach them. And this is the rock upon which a great society is built. Sadly, when we look around at the world today, I think many of us experience regular episodes of sadness and frustration. Our world seems so divided today. We are so engrossed in these tribal distinctions. I am this religion, you're that religion. I am this color, you're that color. I'm from this country, you're from that country. I live on 44th and Vine, and you live on 33rd and Maple. These divisiveness that we're just at each other. I'm Republican, you're Democrat. I'm conservative, you're liberal. Whatever those things are, it ultimately we see over and over again this sense of me, mine. We're different from you and others. And this, of course, is leading to so much discord and so much pain in our society. As a physician, I really well understand what happens when we have these kinds of divisiveness. Not only is it manifested in unhappy people, but in unhealthy societies, because I've learned over the years that health truly is the mental, physical, and spiritual well being of a people, of a community, of a nation, of a world. And when those forces are out of alignment, it is very difficult to actually experience something called health. One of the lessons I've learned in my career, and it's something that I've taken to heart, is that health is the place where all of the social forces converge to express themselves with the greatest clarity and the most importance. And what do I mean important? Whether we live or whether we prematurely die. And the quality of that survival is about as important as you can get in terms of social issues. And so it is how all these forces come together to produce health or result in illness that concerns me in many ways today. Well, as I think about community engagement, I love to think about flowers. I am fortunate that I have a garden accessible to me quite easily. And I go and I sit and I meditate in that garden on a regular basis. And I sit among the flowers. And when I see those flowers, I am instantly reminded that the flower is the result of very small seeds that have been planted either deliberately or through the force of nature. That plant has been watered by the rain falling from the sky. It has been nurtured by eating sunlight from the sun, which gives it the chance to make the chemical reactions necessary for it to grow and flourish. I know that the roots of that flower are nurtured by the nutrients that are in the soil, deposited over many, many years by different creatures, by different kinds of intentionality. And when those flowers' petals die and wither and fall off, they return back to the earth and are again nurturing the soil for the next generation of flowers. And what it always teaches me by this lovely moment that I can have among these flowers is that everything is connected. Everybody is connected. And so when we think about healthcare, I recognize and understand if we're to be healthy, we have to deal with the pieces. Now, in previous shows, we've talked about um, our behavior, whether it is our diet or whether it is our exercise that will help us. I know that you can't be healthy if you don't have access to good clinical care. I know that it is difficult to be healthy if we don't have rational public policies. For example, not having tobacco products available to our children, making sure there's not lead in our drinking water. Those things are very important. But also, I know that the environment in which we live and in which we work, our community environment, is so key to also telling us what kinds of health outcomes we have. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that there's so much pain in our communities. And let me just give you 5 examples of the kind of pain we're suffering, which I think are very amenable to our uh, community engagement based upon our sense of our spirituality, our duty to ourselves, and our duty to others. First, we are really seeing extraordinary despair in America, and particularly in the heartland, but also in inner cities as well as rural America. And we're seeing an increase in self destructive behavior because too many people believe that they really don't have the concept of the possibility of a meaningful future. They're feeling hopeless and helpless. And what we're seeing are a series of what is called despair deaths. And how do we experience those despair deaths? Well, since 2015, we've seen drug deaths increase by 25%, from 13.5 to 17 deaths per 100,000. Since 2016, we've seen frequent mental distress increase by 7%, from 11.2 to 12% of the population. Since 2012, suicide increased 16%, from 12 to now 14 deaths per 100,000. More than 1.2 million violent crimes occurred in the United States in 2017 alone, including 17,000 homicides. In fact, homicide is now the third leading cause of death among persons aged 15 to 34 in the United States. A second category of community-based issues that concern us are child poverty. This is a wonderful quote from the great Marian Wright Edelman, who is the founder of the Children's Defense Fund. I love their logo. Dear Lord, be good to me. The sea is so wide and my boat is so small. Well, we have a reason to care about children in America. In this, the wealthiest nation on earth, nearly 1 in 5 children live in poverty. These children often face inadequate health care and nutrition, untreated illness, unsafe childcare, unstable housing, and inferior schools. They believe, and I believe with them, that permitting more than 12.8 million children to live in poverty when we have the means to prevent it is unjust and simply unacceptable. A third example is looking at the opposite end of life, from our children to our seniors. And it does pain me when I notice how many of our seniors are living in isolation. This is one of the most important health issues for older Americans. Some 18% of adults over 65 live alone, and 43% feeling lonely on a regular basis. 43% of our seniors are reporting feeling lonely on a regular basis. And a feeling of loneliness can often be the least of their worries because studies have shown that isolated seniors have an increased risk of high blood pressure, depression, dementia, malnutrition, and other harmful health issues. They're also more likely to engage in risky behaviors like tobacco use and are particularly vulnerable to something that is just tragic in our society, and that's elder abuse. The next topic that is an example of community forces that we need to attend to, I think, is that too many people have inadequate access to healthy food. They have they're living in what we call food deserts. These are areas that lack access to affordable and fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low-fat milk, and other foods that need to make up a healthy diet. Many of these people are living in rural areas. They are minority communities, low-income areas that are particularly important. And so we see how many millions are living in these neighborhoods. How many of them don't have a vehicle and they can't drive to a grocery store because none that is acceptable is near them? How many of them have jobs that hopefully could be created if we could only do the right thing? The next issue is pollution. And I think we all can feel the pain of the deterioration of the world around us. Outdoor air pollution involves exposures that take place outside of the built environment. These are things like fine particles produced by burning fossil fuels, coal and petroleum, for example. Noxious gases that are produced, things like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxide, chemical vapors. Then there's ground level ozone, a reactive form of oxygen and a very important component of urban smog. And then every time you see people smoking cigarettes, polluting the air around us and polluting the environment that all of us have to live in. And now we're seeing, of course, the impact of climate change. Please don't be fooled by any of the nonsense that we sometimes see in the newspaper by fake pseudoscientists who deny that this is a serious issue. I am a member of the National Academy of Medicine, which is a component of the National Academy of Sciences for this nation, the premier place where science and research come together for the national good. There is no question whatsoever that climate change is real and significant. And there are reports now, just in the last day or so, how much more worse it is than even we had thought. So, those are just some of the reasons and the challenges that we face. But I've always wondered as I talk to people about these community engagement, why don't more of us get involved? What is it that holds us back? Why isn't this on the top of our agenda? If we have a responsibility to become the best we can be so that we can serve others, why are we failing to serve others enough, often enough? Well, what I hear sometimes is I'm too shy to reach out. I'm kind of timid and I don't know how to reach out beyond myself. Or I'm too afraid of others who seem different from me and I that inhibits me from being able to reach out. Oh, and then there are the people that just I'm just too busy. I'm sorry. There's not enough time. Besides, isn't that the government's job to take care of these things? Why do I have to get involved? Others will say, it's just too complicated. I can't learn all that stuff. I don't know what to do. And the worst example that I hear, and it just makes me so sad, it makes my heart just bleed, is those that say, the problems are just hopeless. there isn't anything can be done. We just have to give up. It's all fate anyway. Well, I hope that's not going to be one of you. We don't need more people with excuses. We need more people who are prepared to take action. So let me give you a few tips of things that I think of why you ought to do this. Why do you want to be a part of this? Well, first, this is an integral part, as I've mentioned, of our own spiritual journey. Serving others is the essence of why we are on the journey. Number two, it will enhance your own healthiness. It helps you to integrate that mental, physical, and spiritual well being. Third, it's absolutely essential to realizing the world in which we want to live. You know, if you're frustrated by the tribalism, if you're frustrated by the tension and the anger and the divisiveness, then you need to decide to be the change that you wish to see in the world. This great famous quote by the great spiritual teacher Gandhi, I think is just spot on. If you're frustrated by what you see on the news, if you're frustrated by the stuff on our cable channels and all the social media, then you decide that you will be the change you wish to see in the world, and then transmit that sense of well-being to others. Number four, why should you do this? Because it's fun. It's rewarding to connect with others, to learn, to see the world through different eyes, to work in harmony for common goals. After all, we are one. We're all interconnected, just like that flower in the garden. It's all part of a whole. And I just love meeting new people and seeing how what they can teach and looking at their experiences. One of the great things I get to do is I'm involved with, the body and brain movement. And many of the people that I'm dealing with are from Korea. It is so much fun for me to learn about the Korean culture and the Korean way of being. And I love sharing with them what it's like being a person growing up in the African American community. We can learn from each other and have so much fun. And my world is so much more enriched. Go find somebody who's different from you. You'll see what I mean. And then, of course, it's nice to be needed and exciting to learn that we actually have a great deal to contribute. Yeah, I know you may not be a confident person. You may be thinking, well, I don't have the skills. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how to take care of the health care of other people. But you know what you do have? You have you, and you have competencies and skills that you don't even know you have. And so you should be excited about the fact that you are needed. Well, what should you do? Now that I've got you fired up to do something, then all right, let's take some choices. And I want you to do me a favor. Each one of you that's in the audience, each one that's listening today, please make a commitment to do at least one thing. Of all these suggestions, you can't do everything. Do one, just one thing today. And I hope that each of you will take that challenge. First, connect with your community leaders and ask how you can be helpful in creating a shared vision for the future of your community, for its health. Uh, and how do you learn then to assess your community's needs and then focus your action? You know, we can sit together as people that live in a geographical space that we call community. We can sit together and we can plan together. We can have a community conversation. What is our vision for the way the world ought to be? What's the community in which we want to live? Let's sit down and have a conversation and a shared vision about that world. And then let's figure out what are the needs to get there, and then what can I do to be helpful? Number two, reach out to others with respect, curiosity, humility, kindness, and love. We have so many people from different environments. Every time we see a news report of a mosque that has been burned or a synagogue that's been attacked, or for me, every day I see a picture of the children from Central and South America who are living behind these barbed wires and these fences, my heart breaks. When I see young African American men being shot by police and others without consequence, all of these sadden me and make me look within. And so I have to take that looking within and then reach out to others and realize that everyone should be treated with respect, and I should be curious about others, and I need to be humble. Above all, I need to be kind. And of course, I need to share love with everyone that I meet, because no matter how we may look physically different, it is still true. Spiritually, we are all one. Three, reach out to seniors. Please, 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 if any of you know of a senior who is living alone, if you see a little old lady barely pushing a grocery cart down the road, that's your moment to get involved and help shop for that little old lady. Help her carry her groceries home. It's so simple and so easy. If you know how to install grab rails on bathroom showers and bathtubs, then you can come do that. If you have some tape, you can tape down the throw rugs that are in people's homes, which seniors slip on. There's a reason they call them throw rugs, by the way, because if you don't nail them down or tack them down, they will throw you. And then our seniors, our elders will get a broken hip. And when they get a broken hip, too often they wind up in the hospital, they get pneumonia, and they die. This is not a trivial issue. As a physician, I've seen this over and over again. And some of you that are good with computers, go on over there and help a senior figure out how to get back online and be a part of social community. Those are such easy things to do. All you have to do is go knock on somebody's door. Now, that isn't so hard, is it? Number four, vote. As Marion Wright Edelman teaches us, vote for kids. Vote for kids so that we don't have so many children in poverty. Vote for kids so that they will have safe environments to play in. Vote for the earth. Please, we need earth friendly policies. Number five, because of the food desert issue that I talked about, get involved in community gardening. Get your neighbors together and start to garden and create healthy spaces, create healthy oxygen for the community you live in, create healthy vegetables for people to eat, and then let's get those healthy vegetables into the hands of those who can't do for themselves, who need a way to be able to eat nutritious food. Number six, join the Earth Citizens Movement. This is and there are many of them there. This is an example of one, but we need you to be involved with protecting the Earth, protecting this wonderful planet that we've been gifted. It's so important. And seventh, not all communities, as we know, are geographical. There's also our online social media community. And so we need you to be attentive to that community. Please be a force for positivism. Please work to create a healthy community environment, even online. If you see abuse and negativism and divisiveness, then help to be a part of the effort to turn that around. If you see that there's an opportunity to engage people in positive activities by encouraging them to vote for positive things, if you can find ways of encouraging people to volunteer, if you can take some of the ideas that we've talked about in this podcast and recycle those ideas online as you tweet and as you engage in other social media forums, then this is a wonderful way for you to reach out and to make a difference. Well, I tell you, I am so excited about this notion of community engagement as a part of our efforts and activity. I think that we come to understand that it is through our appreciation for our relationship with divinity, our appreciation for understanding our true selves, the self that is timeless in us. Once we are able to really bring that forward and understand who we really are, then we can understand who others are and who they really are. And before long, if you just keep focusing on that idea, it doesn't take long before you start to see the other person as yourself. We're all the same. Everything, every molecule in our body, every atom inside of every molecule in our body, all come from the same place. We can use our mind, our thoughts, and our ideas. We can decide how to use those thoughts and ideas. We can decide to use them in a selfish way that exploits others and abuses the needs of other people. or we can turn that into loving kindness as we think about the child who is in need right down the street, or the senior who is isolated, or the hungry person that doesn't have access to healthy food. I have been enjoying this notion of community engagement for many years. And even though I like to sometimes think that I might be a pretty good guy because I want to reach out and do good things, I have to be truly honest with myself. I get more in return than I give. Caring for people, the more able and the less able, serving each other is the rock upon which a great society is built. I look forward to seeing you out there in your community. Let us know by sending us a note of what you decided to do. But you've got to decide. Today is the day. You will do at least one thing to begin to reach out to people who share your time and your space, who live in a place called your community. Let's put it all together. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode, and we hope that you'll stay with us. Send us your information. Send us your questions. This is a participatory experience, but we look forward to seeing how you decide to be your highest self and be in touch with your true self. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.